With good news for today from Baptist Press, I'm Brandon Porter. Most persecuted believers who were imprisoned in the first century depended upon their friends and family members for sustenance while in prison. Without such care, the prospect of making it out of prison alive was grim. While political structures are a bit different today, there are still ways believers can encourage those who are in persecution. In a first-person piece from Casey Hoff, he says Christians with the freedom to do so should first encourage believers to prioritize the kingdom of God. He says we should realize that we often have more in common with other believers who are living in another part of the world than we do with non-believers who live nearby. He also calls on Christians to pray for believers living in persecution. Resources from the International Mission Board, Voice of the Martyrs, or the Joshua Project will help you know where and who to pray for. Finally, he challenges believers to consider writing to those who are imprisoned for their faith. An organization like Voice of the Martyrs will be able to help them get connected with those living in persecution so that they can encourage them. Find more at Baptist Press.
Good News for Today is made possible through our friends at the Voice of the Martyrs, a non-profit organization that serves persecuted Christians around the world. Founded in 1967 by Richard and Sabina Wurmbrand, VOM is dedicated to inspiring believers to deepen their commitment to Christ and to fulfill His Great Commission, no matter the cost. Find out more and sign up for their free monthly magazine at vom.org/goodnews.
Famously known as the Prince of Preachers, legendary Baptist pastor Charles Spurgeon is most notable for his sermons, which have been endlessly quoted by evangelical Christians for years. Yet, according to Jeff Chang, the assistant professor of historical theology and the curator of the Spurgeon Library at the Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, an overlooked aspect of Spurgeon's ministry is actually his work as a local church pastor and his Baptistic ecclesiology. Spurgeon was the pastor of the New Park Street Chapel, now known as the Metropolitan Tabernacle in London, from the early 1850s until 1891, shortly before his death. During his tenure, the congregation grew from a few dozen upon his arrival to the largest evangelical church of the 19th century, with more than 5,000 people attending. That was long before the modern concept of the megachurch. Chang began exploring the topic. Some of the ecclesiological commitments Spurgeon practiced, which Chang explores in his book, include being involved in membership interviews, desiring elders and deacons who would give pastoral care to the church, and having a system to follow up with members who were not attending regularly. Thanks for listening to Good News for Today.